disc-shaped thing that we normally just call our ear is the part of the outer ear that's called either the auricle or the pinna, depending on who you ask. They're the same thing, doesn't matter. Basically, the point is it's a big structure to funnel sound into this canal, which is the external auditory meatus. If you remember from like way back at the beginning, a meatus, right? That's like a little tube. Yes. So auricle slash pinna, the whole big thing. This tube is that external auditory meatus. Okay, and that's what funnels the sound from the auricle into the, the inner workings of the ear. And then this membrane right here is called either the tympanum or the tympanic membrane, right? This thing right here. It is often called the eardrum, but we're not going to call it the eardrum. We're going to call it tympanum or tympanic membrane, right? Okay, so then once the sound waves kind of hit this tympanum, then you have the little bones that are connected to the tympanum, so those are called ossicles, and there's 3 of them. There's the malleus, which is this first one that's connected to the tympanum. Okay, the malleus, or the hammer, sometimes it's called. The incus is the one just connected to the hammer. Incus, or I think they call it anvil too, but incus. And then the stapes, or the stirrup, is this last little one, like down in here. Sorry. This little thing. It's got a pretty distinctive shape. It's kind of like a hollowed out triangle almost. Okay, so that's the stapes. And then, yes, like staples without a doubt. And then you get into a couple of fluid-filled chambers after that, right? So this is the cochlea, all right? And then, does your list have this?
Yeah.
Like the
Semicircular canals.
those, yes.
Yeah.
The semicircular canals, yes. Okay, so the interesting thing about like the cochlea versus the semicircular canals is that like they're not really used for the same things, right? So the cochlea is more for actual like hearing, whereas the semicircular canals are for like kind of balance maintenance and things. So it's kind of interesting that they're not necessarily like, related to the same perception. But that is all, but they're both fluid filled. So I think that's what gets people messed up sometimes, is that they think they're like the same thing. They're not, they're 2 different things that both deal with like fluid and hairs and, so basically the cochlea has like fluid in it, and there's these little hairs in the fluid, and when vibrations from, the outside come in through the ear, then basically it, like the vibrations like hit the cochlea and creates like tiny little waves in the liquid, and that moves the hairs, and so that's kind of how like that sensory perception kind of works. And then that sends an impulse to the nerve and the brain. And then the cochlea does, the semicircular canals do a similar thing, except instead of those waves and hairs being used for like some sort of auditory perception, it's for like balance and stuff. So that's, I think, everything that you needed to know. Do you need to know the eustachian tube? No. Okay. Well, in case you were curious, this is just the thing that like connects to like your nasal passage. And it's why when people like open up their mouth to equalize the pressure, that's kind of like what's going on. But I guess you don't have to know that, so whatever.